On April 14, 1865, then U.S. President Abraham Lincoln was attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. called My American Cousin when future assassin John Wilkes Booth snuck up behind him and shot him in the back of the head. Lincoln would later go on to die of these wounds later the next morning. This was all a part of a conspiracy planned by John Wilkes Booth to assassinate not only Abraham Lincoln, but also Vice President Andrew Johnson and Secretary of State William H. Seward. Lincoln was the only casualty of the conspiracy. However, William H. Seward did suffer some injuries from his assassins, but did eventually survive. Andrew Johnson avoided both injury and death because his would-be assassin got drunk instead and wasn't able to pull off the plot. The idea behind the plot originates after the Union Army and Confederate armies stopped conducting prisoner exchanges, which is usually wrongfully attributed to General Ulysses S. Grant. However, it actually stems from the Confederate States Congress passing a law that banned the return of black soldiers. Lincoln would later go on to issue his own order, known as General Order 252, which would prohibit the exchanging of prisoners, and the original conspiracy against Lincoln was to kidnap him and use him as blackmail to resume the prisoner exchanges. John Wilkes Booth was originally an actor, and actually one that was admired by Lincoln, who had seen him perform in a play at the theater in 1863. Booth had attended Lincoln's second inauguration and would later go on to write in his journal that he had an opportune time to kill the president if he had so wished. Lincoln, on the other hand, had actually admired Booth and his acting and had invited him to come visit the White House on numerous occasions, to which Booth denied. The assassination plot came as the Confederate States were failing and came shortly after the surrender of Robert E. Lee and the Confederate Army. Booth was still sympathetic to the Confederate cause, and after he assassinated Lincoln, he would later go on a 12-day run where he was a fugitive and was one of the most wanted men in the country until he himself was eventually shot down. And if you want to know more interesting facts, be sure to follow so you don't miss out on more.